Okay, we're in business. Okay, that's a Nokfin. So, no, one of these guys, the Rabbi Yochanan Kohen, who was, he's one of the very major enigmatic figures in Jewish history. Because he was frum for like 80 years, and he established many of the takonos by which we live, such as Demai, and then he went to OTD towards the end of his life and became a Tzedoki. So, but stuff which he did good, we keep up. So Nokfin is this case here. Osen makin gabe ega ben kornov. They used to hit an egel, which was brought as a korban, when in order that it should bleed, and the blood should flow down the blood should flow down to his on top of the egel's eyes, and the egel should be able to see that they're about to shecht it, so it wouldn't panic. So he said this is not a good idea. Why is it not a good idea? Because so when are you going to feed him his bech nevelos? Now, it sounds like it was in the Bible. It says it was marizayin. It wasn't real. It was not actually a mum or a treifa. So therefore, it was just a marizayin thing. It could be the Yerushalmi said as well, but it sounds like it was much more of a problem according to the Yerushalmi, and they are, and the carbonated says because it could have made them treifas, right? In other words, it could have been treif because if you beat it too hard, that's going to be pierce the membrane of the skull, and that in fact is the second parish in the Bible. I have to note that the Bible does bring that down as a second parish. This first parish in the Bible says it causes marizayin, because it looks like you're putting a movement to catch him. And the second shot is like Yerushalmi, that it's potential treifa, in that you might be causing a treifa to the treifos to the animal. Okay, so what do you do? So instead, he made for them rings. These rings are mentioned also in the Bible in Sukkah, where the rings were where they secure the animals, so they were not able to move, and therefore they were able to slaughter them without being concerned about them panicking in the middle.
It's mentioned in Midos as well.
What?
They're mentioned in the
Mishnah.
Midos.
They were wide at the bottom to put the animal in, and then they were narrow at the top to immobilize the neck. Okay, so they slip the animal in and then pull it up towards the top where its neck was immobilized. Until his time, there were hammers beating in Yerushalayim. The house in Yerushalayim means they did construction work during Chol HaMoed, and he canceled that construction work during Chol HaMoed. It says, Yerushalmi says, Atchilas Yomav. In other words, he canceled it at the beginning of his reign as Kohen Gadol in Yerushalayim. So the Gemara is going to pick up on that later. Uv'yamav ein tzarich lish'ol al hadmai. In his day and age, one did not have to ask about the Demai. Now, according to the Bible, if I recall correctly, I think I have a note here. No. If I recall correctly, in the Bible, it says because you said you have to take mices off of the Demai, right? So you don't have to ask about the Demai, don't you have to just do it. But he says here, the Yerushalmi says, Shehemi Zugos. He set up Zugos, the Korban Eidah says, so the Korban says that the Zugos were sets of Talmid Chachamim, I guess they worked in pairs, who were mashgichim, and they made sure that nothing was sold in the marketplace were not taken from, and therefore there was no problem of the mine. Okay. So the following statement Shimon Levi is going to tell us that some of these are praiseworthy and some of them not so praiseworthy. And in the Bible, they all consider to be praiseworthy. probably because there's all the Kodesh to have positive developments. But Rabbi Shimon Levi does not. But Rabbi Shoina, top of the name Aleph, Haya Maaser Naaseh Shlosha Chalokim. So Bnei Moshe says, Rabbi Shoina, Lara Shetikin Ezra Lishkas Beisa Otzer L'Sei Shama Maisros. They would put their dedicated donations into the proper office in the Beis Hamikdash. But you notice mehem lekohen levim lanim. They would give the kohen and levim lanim whatever was appropriate. Kohen ben Aaron malevim ba'aser levim gomer alishkos beis o. So the alishkos levim b'nei Yisrael gomer to a pasuk. Chem Malachi. It says haviu gomer beis o. Kamala Malachi says there is an opinion. Malachi is Ezra. So it makes sense that he would say there would be both for him. Shulam Yitam Yisrael b'mayit shom the nice ma'aser after kohanim kedamar time hasan. But Chen Lani afil Yisrael the Kamala ma'aser rishon mutar lezarim. So it's Yerushalmi Sotah says they distribute them inappropriately. Okay, and so let's see. Gomer the kafli nogim rishon she'ma'aser tzchei shlosh reglokim. Initially is Shisha Nasin Makira Guna Levia Shalo Ushlisha Beis Otzo can first Kame Ushlish Lanim. So he says it was distributed incorrectly. It was distributed Ushlisha Makira Guna Levia to Kohen Levim who he knew, and then Shlish third would be put into stockpiling. Ushlish Lanim L'Chamein Shishlam and third for the poor people and the Talmid Chachamim who in Yerushalayim, right? So he might have had good intentions, but this is not the way it's supposed to be done. Should have been done given the proper amount of Kohanim, proper Levim, and proper to the Aniyim. And he evidently used his power of Hefker, based in Hefker, whatever authority of governments he had, to redistribute them as he saw fit. Okay? Somebody had a din Torah to go up to Yerushalayim. So the Korban says that this is talking about the litigants, and Bnei Moshe says talking about the judges. Okay, so Man Abasot Meidan could mean the litigants going up to stand the judgment. It would also mean to judge, right? At last Igrin have a yoyim midilei. So 1/3 of the cost of the judgment was given. They would give from their own. So the rest came from the altar. So the Korban says, the Korban Eda says that if for the first 3 times that he came to Yerushalayim, again according to Korban, we're talking about the litigant, he would pay for his own room and board. From then on, the Otzer paid for the room and board. Okay, because evidently they wanted to make sure that people kept coming. So at a certain point, they subsidized the Dinei Torah. The Bnei Moshe gives a more difficult explanation. But according to his opinion, it's talking about the judge. So, what I want to suggest is that 3 times. For the first 3 times that came, he had it for himself, and afterwards, they would give them this parnasa in order to be able to judge, just like Levim would get a parnasa. In other words, they would support, and it could be this Yochanan. It could be this part of Yochanan Kohen Gadol's Takon in of itself, right? It says a shlish right to the Otzer. So it's obviously this Otzer was used for discretionary funding. So this is a part. So for when evidently there was a shortage of judges in Yerushalayim, or they wanted to encourage judges to come up. So therefore, after the 3rd time, if you hold the judges, after the 3rd time that they came, from there on in they'd be subsidized by the governments, in other words, by the Otsar, which Yochanan Kohen Gadol had arranged. Okay. Mishaba Elazar ben Psara Yehuda ben Pachora. Okay, interesting names. when they came, and how you know when they evidently these were two guys, tough guys off the street. I know some Bizroa, right? They would take what they wanted from the Yitzhar without any compunction, right? And the only Kohen Gadol could have protested, and he didn't protest. Okay, and therefore he is held responsible for this. The heavier there is Meiser, and as a result, this whole long distortion, he eliminated Hodayas Meiser. In other words, a person could no longer say when he brought the full part of his Meiser Shulaim at the end of every 3 years, Asisi Kochola Shert Sibisani, I did everything done, because it didn't. It was being abused. It was being abused either it was being distributed inappropriately, or because it was being taken by people and who abused the system, and this is not protested. Okay. So that's a good night. As on the Shvach, we didn't do inside, but those are the people who said who used to daven to Hashem and say Ura Hashem Lama Tisha. This is like try to wake up HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's not an appropriate thing to say, and therefore that was the shvach that he eliminated that. But Sanoku the shvach, and then he eliminated these guys who made the blood splatter on the Korban. Said also the shvach. Okay, so now we talk about the other one, which mentioned until his days, the hammer was being in Yerushalayim. And we said it to the beginning of his reign. Maybe it means that he only did it at the end of his life. In other words, it doesn't make sense to say, is that Sov Yomov? And then there was Lignai. In other words, his entire tenure, he allowed it to happen. And he only canceled at the end. Or to say that some of them are not considered to be appropriate, so why not maybe this as well? Something like, Alpha no have a sober came. So he said, I also thought that. But evidently, that is the conclusion of the Yerushalmi, unlike the Bavli, again, that there was the Shvach was Lignai, that in fact, at the end of his life, he decided, okay, it's time to take care of this, but he did not take care of this with the proper alacrity. Okay? Demai, he made the kind of Demai, so Rabbi Yossi Shem Demai, what does the word Demai mean? Dimi Tikain, right? And it should be Demi Lo Tikain. Who fixed it and who didn't fix it. So the word Demai is Damai, right? Or Demi, who did it and who didn't do it. That's the word Demai. Okay, Mishnah, Alochi Beis. Mishabbat Sanhedrin, once there's no longer a Sanhedrin, but Hashem Mishneh Mishmeh Tishtos, they canceled singing in bars. Shneimar, Bashir Lo Yishtu Yain. So the evidently the Sanhedrin, this is Gemara getting also evidently the Sanhedrin, when they were effective, they were able to monitor the what was going on and make sure they get out of hand. But once there was no Sanhedrin, there was no longer any regulating authority to prevent inappropriate behavior. Abba Barav Yirmiyah Amaz King Mishar Shabasu Bachrim Meginasam. And the pasuk doesn't quote here, but that's the end of the pasuk. It says, Moshe brings it down. Came Mishar Shabasu Bachrim Meginasam. The Mishabad Las came Yoshi Mishar. Say Nesham Hedrin. Bagla Bachrim Meginasam Gamke. Okay, no more Sanhedrin, no more music. Okay. And one explains, Amrav Chista Barishon Isa Ema Sanhedrin Alayim. V'loyim Divin Avola V'shir. And initially, they had the fear of the Sanhedrin upon them, and they would not say inappropriate things in their songs. They would sing lewd songs, and therefore, they just decided, let's cancel all singing in bars. Okay?
One second. Nachum, go get mommy. The buzzer's buzzing. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Robbie.
Okay. Barishona. Initially, they would only punish that individual. Okay. The base would only take punish that individual. But now in Shamayim, because there is no more Sanhedrin, so in Shamayim, when there's punishment meted out on a person, it's meted out also on the people who aided and abetted him. So yeah, I guess when there was din ba'aretz and there was no necessary din Shamayim was not necessary, right? So then punishment could be limited. But now that din is taking place under din Shamayim, so then the punishment extends to other people as well. Okay, so therefore the aiders and abettors also are punished by being caught in that net. Okay, it's kind of like Hamish Nitan Rishus Lamashkus Lahashkis Eno Mavchim Ben Tzadik LaRusha. But here, it's not Ben Tzadik LaRusha, but it's Ben Russia and other Rishonim. Okay. Okay. So Am Rabbi Yisrael Rabbeinu B'Shem Rabbi Huna B'Rishon Kosher Shei Sabah Tzibor. Oh, by the way, all this which we're learning now is is not in the Bible. It's all pure Yerushalmi. So initially, every time the tzora happened to the tzibor, so when they were redeemed, they made a simcha. You know, we have all Megillas Tainus, which is about all the simchas they made when they got redeemed from a tzora, right? And when the Sanhedrin was canceled and they stopped singing over drinking, right? So so this canceled also these simchas. In other words, they stopped making simchas for every redemption which they could have celebrated, because the celebration get out of hand. In other words, once they're made in terms of simcha, now we're much more leery about even make takonas for simchas, and without getting into politics, this of course could be applied perhaps to modern day holidays over redemptions in Eretz Yisrael, and perhaps not. Right? I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so Shabbat Misosli Beinu Nefach Elo Mecholenu, and this is alluded to in this pasuk when Misosli Beinu is negated. In other words, when the joy of hearts and Sanhedrin no longer exists, so that which we would have celebrated becomes an ego. Okay, so I want to ask a general question here. Right? What good did the Sanhedrin do? Right? In terms of that, it's interesting question it's talking about. Now it's not talking about the question of the Mishtos, because that we assume, like the previous Gemara, that they would have set up zugos and made sure. In fact, the Rambam brings down its responsibility of Beis Din and Chol Hamoed, when things are slack, to set up sneeze patrols, that people shouldn't actually get involved in inappropriate forms of simcha. But he is asking about the fact that what we said before, that when there's a Sanhedrin, then the aiders and abettors are not punished. And when there's no Sanhedrin, they're punished. So why is it? Why does Sanhedrin do that? The aiders and abettors are not being punished. Mishnah Market says, if the people of the nation conceal and don't actually get involved in punishing a person who gave it from his children to the Molech, to put that in any way that they want, meaning any way they can. In other words, there are specific punishments for Molech, but this is like a parenthetical remark that whatever punishments you can do, you should do, but you have to punish. So then, the Gemara is saying that pasuk tells us, if we don't give out those punishments, the pasuk goes on to say, it's not quoting here, but the pasuk goes on to say, "Nasatis panai ba'ishu v'mishpachto." The punishment is going to go up to his family because they aided and abetted them. So this is the pasuk we said before. When there's din ba'aretz, so it can be limited. When din shamayim has to be invoked, then it spreads much further. Okay. So what's the analogy? They gave him a mashal. Somebody did something bad in the city. Masu Bal Hegman, they gave it to the governor, the Chavsho, and he put him in prison. V'haya Kasher Bal Hegman, if they it was too difficult for that. Well, according to Dave Moshe, it's not going directly back on the on this previous case, but it's going on the case of according to 8. It says why the you see by the first wide line according to 8. Moshe Madar V'Daimel Lama Biklu Hasimcha Shekavu Keneged Atzol Shavru. Says in our day and age, even if we get redeemed from one tzara, we just get a worse tzara next time. So we don't celebrate anything because we're afraid, okay, yeah, maybe if we can't celebrate this too much, we're going to get another one next time. Okay? Yeah, so so that's what he's about to explain. So first he started about Egmont. He puts him in prison. If that governor, that official found it too difficult to deal with the guy, so then Masu Bal Azmaira, who's the Bal Azmaira is the guy who has the staff, right, the twig with which he can beat. Masu and he put in prison, I guess, also. Mina their punishment. Azmora was more difficult than he could handle. Masu Bal Tzura, the Tzua, right? The Satra, and he whips it. If it's more difficult than that, Masu Shilton, they would give him to the Shilton, to the ultimate government, and they would Zil the Kamin, and put him in the Kamin, and that is evidently the death chamber. According to the Pneumo says it's death row. The Korban says it's like a gas chamber, that they would asphyxiate people there. So they're always escalating tzoros. Kacha tzoros achronos v'shachos esarishonos. So too, the later tzoros are become worse and worse than the original ones. So the celebration of one redemption is kind of like absurd, basically. Okay, can we go on? Should we stop here or should we go on?
I think we're going to stop here.
What?
If I'm tuning out, then we probably should stop here.
Stop here. Okay, because the next page is the one I got it to. Okay, so we'll do the next page next week. Okay? Shkoyach. Take care. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
Baruch Hashem. This is on.
Where are we? Sotah somewhere, right?
Sotah Memhema Bays.
Memhema Bays. 45B. Bays or Amid Aleph?
I
think we left off at the bottom.
we left on Amid Aleph. We're up to, I think we're up to Halacha Gimel. Hi, how are you? Okay, we're up to Halacha Gimel.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Misha Mason the Vim Rishonim. Once the early prophets died, but the Urim Betumim, so the Urim Betumim no longer there. No, it's by Sheni didn't have the Urim Betumim. Even before that, it seems that they went into Geniza, okay, which I was going to have to explain. Mishachar based on Mikdash Bata Shamir, the stone cutting worm. Although they recently found one worm like that just, recently, which digests stone. I don't know if obviously you know I do the same thing. Venofes sufim was a special type of luxury food. Upaskan Chiamona, and people who were trustworthy ceased. Shnemar Shia Hashem ki Gomer Chassid. So save us God for Chassidim are gone. And trustworthiness has been eliminated from mankind. Okay, so on base. No, sorry, 2 lines at the bottom. Okay, Mishmeisim Mishranim Paskurim between Rishumba Nacham Shem B'Yinasan Zeh Shmuel v'David. So Shmuel v'David are called the V'Yim Rishonim. The Mekomei says why? Because him Nikorim v'V'Yim Rishonim should also leave name before them Nikru HaRoim come first Bakra b'Shmuel. So apparently the earlier generations of prophets were Roim, and the V'Yim Rishonim were Shmuel v'David. Shmuel was actually responsible for Nevuah becoming widespread in Am Yisrael. So therefore, he's the end of the first of the period of the Nevi'im. Rab said God.
Whoa. What's your source for that? He established like the
schools of Bnei Nevi'im. Yeah. Reb Tzadok says it. I don't remember what his source is. I'm sure he has a source, but I remember from Reb Tzadok that Shmuel was the one who caused there to be prophecy to be much more widespread.
Okay.
Till then was only Yechidim.
Okay.
Rab says that God v'Nasan. David is usually not called a Navi, even though he is, considered to have had a Nevuah, but God and Nasan were his contemporaries, the ones who usually did the prophesying. So therefore they're going to be Mishan. Rabbi Yirmiyah Shmuel Bar Yisrael Rav, he puts it further, Zayirmiyah Baruch. So he says in the Korban Eidah, the Korban Yirmiyah, which is Kosman Shev Mikdash Rishon Kayam, Yirmiyah Baruch were at the end of the first base of Mikdash period. So as long as the first Mikdash existed, Hayur Metumim. The Korban Rishon, the Korban Sham Shev Mikdash Rishon, because they were in the first base of Mikdash period. So when it says Mr. B'Shimon Levi, Amra Zeh Yirmiyah Baruch. We have evidence it's Yirmiyah Baruch from Rabbi Shimon Levi. The Rabbi Shimon Levi, Drosh Elokim Yimei Chayo HaMevin B'Yeres Elokim. If they came to clarify matters from God, and there is Chayo HaMevin, and it says here in the Korban Eidah, Elohim Tumim, B'Yimei Chayo Hu Uzio, King Uzio, Shlosh Hashem Asayelo. And obviously he was after Shmuel, David, God, Nasan, and they're still coming to use Urim and Tumim, right? Man Kami Basrei, who were the Nevi'im who came subsequently to Uzio, Yirmiyah Baruch. Okay? Mishemesim Nevi'im are Achronim, Chaga is Chayim Malachi, Paskamim Ruach HaKodesh. The last of the Nevi'im Achronim were Chaga and Chayim Malachi. Afterwards, they didn't have anymore that level of Ruach HaKodesh. Abba Bichem Mishtamshim Baskol. Nevertheless, they used the Baskol. Okay? So now we have a whole slew of stories which don't appear in the Bavli. Okay? So Meiser Shishomar Shimon said, what? These are Baskos which will come out and they're not recorded in the Bavli.
Okay.
So Meiser Shishomar Shimon Tzadik Baskol, for example, the story happened with Shimon Tzadik. He heard a Baskol Yoitzim Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim coming out of the Holy of Holies. And what did this Baskol say? This Baskol said, "V'amanera Gaius Gulikus Ubatluk Zeroisav." Obviously, some sort of wicked non-Jew who he's been eliminated, and is Gzeres Abata. Mais Shiatz Noim Bilach Antiochia. It's a case where young lads, I guess, soldiers went to fight in Antiochia. V'Shema Yochanan Kohen Gadol Baskol Yotzim Beis Kodesh Kodoshim. Here the verse coming on Seiv Omeres. Nitzchu Talaya Da'agachu Krova Ba'Antiochia. The young people who made the battle in Antiochia were successful, victorious in battle. Kasva'es, and they wrote down the time when they heard it. V'Noslim Bozman, and they fixed the time. V'Kivnu Ba'osha Ba'osa Shoysa, and they in fact found that it was at precisely that time that victory was achieved. Ma'atzah Shemflis Kenim Eitzel Ben Gadio Biricho. This is in the Bavli. As the Meister, those came to the base Gadia, where they were gathered together for some reason. And Yericho V'yatza Basketball Elohem, the voice came out and said, Yesh B'nechem Adam Chad Ro'u El Ruach HaKodesh. He's suitable to get Ruach HaKodesh. El Shein Dora Ador Kedai. But the generation's not worthy, and you only get Ruach HaKodesh if you're in a worthy generation. So they figured that the person among them who was suitable was Hillel HaZokin, the Hillel. They said about him, "Hey, Anav Chasid, woe to the loss of the humble man, the pious man, Tamido Shel Ezra." The Shub Nichasus came, Aliyah became Yavne, and once the came went to an upper floor room in Yavne. There's somebody among you who's worthy of Kodesh Elish Eina Dor Kedai, but the generation is not worthy. The name is Shmuel HaKatan. That was Shmuel HaKatan, who was one of the Tanoim, I forget whose Talmud he was. Because he diminished himself, he was humble. Yeshua, some say the Fishema'at he was just a little bit smaller than the great Shmuel of Tanakh. And when he died, they said upon him, woe to the loss of this humble and modest man, Tamido Shel Azokin, who was the student of Hillel HaZokin. In other words, in this sense, he's royal in Nevuah as well. And Shasmi Soso at the time of his death. So he said the following. Shimon b'Yishmael l'Charba. Shimon is Rabbi Shimon the Nasi, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Elisha the Kohen Gadol. They're going to die by the sword. They were from Nasor Ruge Malchus. The Shark Omal and all the rest of the nation will be looted. And there's there are going to be many tragedies or many sorrows which are going to come. And he said in Aramaic, which evidently at the time Mishnah was not yet the lingua franca of the Jewish world. So people just shouldn't know what he's saying. In other words, people, I guess, obviously some people understood, but the other people, they shouldn't know about what the future is going to bring.
Incredible.
Arayuv and Baba Skinushi Omrim, and Arayuv and Baba was the one who gave smicha to 5 Canim. At the time when the Romans forbade smicha and he was killed by being shot through with arrows. He's Skinushi Omrim. They wanted also to say, Hey, another Chasid, but they it was a crazy time, and you don't get and it says you can't give a big headspace for people killed by the king, by the kingdom, lest the kingdom get upset at you. What is this business with Shamir? And this is in the Bavli more or less. It's a creature from the 6 days of creation. And it came when you show it to the stones, not sure it means putting it on it or just putting it near in the vicinity. They would get carved in front of it, like the wax tablets, which you have, which I use a stylus in order to make markings of. Because means the boards of a notebook, but their notebooks were made out of wax.
Right.
Ubaba Nashlomo Beis Lamed. That was what Shlomo used to build the Beis Hamikdash. As it says, the house when it was built, it was built with whole large stones, makavos v'garzen, and hammers and axes, v'chol kli barzel, and all sorts of metal tools. Lo nishma b'aisi bono, so they were not heard in the Beis Hamikdash when it was being built. And remember, go roast hoyu.
They were dragged?
Yeah, I think that no, I think it means that they were polished. So, in other words, which means they had to use metal. I think that's what it means. 1 second. All these are precious stones in the measures of hewn stone. They were smooth. They were polished with a scraper. Right? So it's both on the inside and on the outside. Mm-hmm. So you can't get a shamir to do that, right?
Right.
So he says rather, once they were once in the Beis Hamikdash, no metal vessels were used upon them. You would fully shape them outside the Beis Hamikdash and then bring them in to build the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, so you see in Korban it says, "Em shleimo ma'aseh nivna, b'shleimus kama she'isiyah me'ahar v'lo sitatu hashuv b'chlei barzal." In other words, it was made complete, and the mountain where it was quarried and then schlepped whole to the Beis Hamikdash, and it was not redone there, but they did use metal on it at the quarry site itself.
Okay.
So Rabbi Amar Nirenti Rabbi Yehuda Bavnei Beis Hamikdash. So he says what Rabbi Yehuda says that he used the shamir. That's about the Beis Hamikdash. And nearing because the Korban points out that pasuk is talking about the Avnei Beis Shlomo. So therefore, it's not about the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, Rabbi Yechemah obviously holds that there's no distinction. The same way he built the Beis Hamikdash, he built his own house. But Rabbi holds and Rabbi Yehuda holds that they were different.
Okay.
And nothing can stand before the shamir, even if it's put on top of a stone or into on top of a tray made of metal. Immediately would split open and go down. So what do they do in order to keep him, in order to preserve him, in order that he shouldn't run away? The shamir, right? What's going to hold it? They will wrap him with a soft cloth made out of wool. And put him inside a container of lead, which is full of a bran of barleys. I'm not sure why that did any good.
No, it was eating all the time.
What?
I'm guessing that it was just busy eating.
It could be. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's possible. Yeah. It was it was happy with the food they had. So didn't have to go anywhere. Fine.
I don't know. Maybe they just turned on YouTube.
Yeah. But that was the of Hamavlig showed al A's. So this though the Chsiv. What does it say here? The Korban says, "Bir kala kazeh yivka ha'ara kashem ilfanov." So Mavlik showed not al A's but al Az. So somehow a showed here means like this light creature. So this light creature can destroy a mountain. Okay. Novet Sufim. What is Novet Sufim? It's honey which comes b'tzipiyah. So Korban Moshe learns that it's the name of a place. The Korban says that it is it actually is not referring to honey coming from a place, but rather the fine flour which remains on top of the sieve after you sift the flour. So that it's tzipiyah floats. Saf.
Okay.
That's what Gemara says. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi China, solas safa al gabi napa. This is the fine flour which remains on top of the sieve because it's not complete, not like powder, but it's fine flour. and you knead it with honey and with butter, and it makes this amazing cake, which is called Novet Sufin. Okay? Rabbi Yonason. Yofe sifsuf shechalnu b'neroseinu. Sifsuf b'nei Moshe says hapriha garuach nishar bilam basof. The lousy fruit which we ate in our youth is better mipir pankrasin shechalnu b'stiknoseinu. And Rabbi Korban says the chashuvim, they were better than the top-notch fruit we ate in our old age. The biyoma yishtayam, in our days the world changed, and dramatically from being on a high level of material perfection to a low level of material perfection. So arbolis. If in the old days, if you had a measure of arbolis, a certain type of grain, so a certain type of wheat, so you could get out of it. Now I don't understand the math, but it says you get a saw of fine flour, saw of kemach, a saw of coarser normal flour, saw kibar, a saw of coarser flour, saw mursan, a saw of bran. So subin, and subin is even coarser than that. So now you can't even get one measure of all these things out of the one measure of arbolis. So this sounds like it's a more of a miraculous thing, but from the arbolis, it's perhaps not literal. But anyway, the point is that the grain was much, much better in our youth than it is now. Okay.
Okay.
Plus Anshe Amona. There are no longer any Anshe Amona. Anshe Amona, Torah. So he says, these people, let's see, pay Moshe. Anshe Amona that they don't exist. Torah, meaning, these are people who trust in Hashem, that they'll be successful in the business, and they will go most of the time to spend learning Torah. Then his Batli manner would not take time off of it, except for the bare minimum. So he's saying that Anshe Amona means they were trustworthy in their Torah. Okay? Rabbi Zira, Chad Rebbe, there was a case with one Rebbe, one teacher, that have a Kareli Lachua B'tzor. He was teaching his brother Mikra Tanakh with Tzor. And they would they called him out to do business, to go out to make money. So he said to them, I'm going to cancel my time to learn. In Chamil Meisehu, if the Parnasa will come to me, the Parnasa will come to me. I have true bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So people of this level bitachon, they have ceased to exist.
Okay. Question for you.
Yeah.
It seems like the Baskol sometimes spoke in Aramaic and sometimes spoke in Hebrew.
Yeah. I guess depends who was supposed to understand.
Okay.
If it was for the masses, it would be in Hebrew. For the just for the inner circle, it would be in Aramaic.
Not the other way around. I thought the regular
times the Mishnah lingua franca was still Hebrew. So many times the Gemara that became Aramaic.
So didn't they bring Aramaic back with them from Babel to Eretz Yisrael?
They didn't speak it. No. I mean, they brought it back, but it wasn't the common language.
So when they came back, because they brought back the names of the months, for example.
Yeah.
So they came back from Babel and they spoke Hebrew?
Yeah.
In Eretz Yisrael?
Yeah.
So at what point, so they were speaking Hebrew in Babel also?
No. Babel spoke Babylonian, I assume. Aramaic became the Aramaic became gradually the lingua franca under the Syrian regime, right, which started with the Greeks, and because that was their language, and it spread. And after the independence of Israel was lost, it became universal.
Babylonians.
What?
I thought Aramaic. I thought in Bavel the Babylonians spoke Aramaic.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Okay. It's the Syrian language, but you know I have to look it up. I don't trust myself. If you remind me for next time, I'll look it up.
All right, leave matter.
Okay, so we'll stop here, and I'll let you know what we're doing next. Okay?
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.